Order for Tuesday, May the 10th, 2016, regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Take a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second. Is there any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration of regular minutes of April 12th, 2016. Does anybody do what?
It looked kind of good.
They look kind of good?
Yeah.
It's in your preference.
I always do one that goes, you know where periods go. But it's good.
If there are no changes, I'd request a motion to approve the agenda, or the minutes as written.
Also moved.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Non-action items. Crystal? James?
I got this, Crystal.
Okay.
The Eddie Madison subdivision as well as the subsequent variance was approved at the April 25th City Commission meeting. That's the only action that was presented.
All right. If there's nothing else, action items. Consider recommendation for zoning change to County Fair Additions Block 5, 6, 7, and 8 to commercial zone. No, this is the last one.
Right.
Yeah, they were supposed to bring it back.
Well, now it's only for 5 2
I guess we're fixing to find out.
Or what?
Go for it.
We're just asking you to consider approval of a zone change for the county fair addition of blocks 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is the yellow highlighted area on your second drawing. There it is. It's only known as. I also included the comprehensive plan where that does flow well into that plan that was approved. So.
Okay. Clint, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, okay, so at the last meeting, there was considered a recommendation for lots 1 through 11, and then now it's just 5 through 8.
They tabled that due to our suggestion that we change that whole area instead of spot zoning, because we want to avoid spot zoning.
Okay, so
It's
not no longer 1 through 11, it's only 5 through 8.
no.
No,
So
these
we
are
went
lots.
lots.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
those were
Lots
lots,
to
these
blocks.
are
Yes, sir,
slots.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
I thought we had a typo there.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this? For or against?
Well, I don't want to say anything that what you guys heard from me last meeting, but I'm for it.
Come on up. Thank you. Do me a favor and state your name again.
Hilda G. Marquez.
And where do you live at?
I live at 806 West Avenue E, but our
Okay.
property
Your business
is
property?
block 8,
Okay.
lots 1 through 11.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Whoa. Since we bought it in, let me get my stuff. I wasn't supposed to speak. Give me just a second.
Since we're going to take formal action on this one, this would be a good time to let you speak.
We bought our property back in 2006. When we bought it, we already had our business. We've had our business since 2003, and we bought these lots to put our house beside our business. When we were going to do that, the code changed and stuff, so we couldn't do that anymore. So for me, we're requesting for you guys to change it from industrial to commercial so we can be able to put our house on there.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions? Anybody else? All right. Well, with that, we'll close public comments and I'll take a motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the zone change for County Fair Edition blocks 5, 6, 7, and 8 from industrial to commercial.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next action item, consider recommendation for variance on RV park site requirements of structures within 15 feet to the RV pad to be removed at 1828 North 3rd Street. You again, Crystal?
Yep. This is a recommendation brought between the owner of the RV park and his tenant would like to be able to keep, did we have any photos or are they just going to get There's, if you look in the packet, I do believe it's the last page, there's a photo of the, they have added on to the side of an RV, which is not supposed to be done.
Yeah, that's so close, there was a fire, it's gonna burn up.
So they have asked for a variance to allow this to be there.
So when we say it's not supposed to be done, you
Yeah,
mean-
it's not supposed to be built, you're not supposed to have any kind of structure within 15 foot of an RV.
Okay.
It's in the code that way.
Okay.
Any permanent structure is supposed to be at least 15 foot away, or another RV is supposed to be 15 foot away.
When was this done?
I do not know when it was built. This is the RV park owner.
I'm Troy Chun. I own El Patio RV Park. Now this RV is a fifth wheel and it was moved in May 22nd, 2013. It was moved in, then they had this porch built and had a crane to set it over there by the RV. Now the porch is 22 feet from the other RVs that's on the south side of it, but it's not attached to the RV, it's just setting up against it. And it's got weatherproof plywood, it's also got paneling on the inside and out, on the ceiling. It's not just a frame that's put up there, it's a nice built porch. It's 16 foot long, 8 foot wide, and about 9.5 foot tall. And it's got a 4 foot open air porch on it. But the lady that lives in it, she's got 3 pretty young children, and it's kind of like a playroom for them, because I don't think all of them are in school, are they? Is all of them in school? I'm not sure if all of our children are in school or not. I know they're pretty small kids. But we'd just like for her to keep it because, it's useful to her. And we had some pictures made of it. I don't know if Crystal has still got them or not.
Yeah, I've put the pictures in here that you said with the variance paperwork.
Can you give me your name again? I'm sorry. Your name again?
Troy Chun?
Troy?
Troy Chun.
Troy, how long have you owned the RV park?
Well, I put it in, I think, June of 2012. Now, I've got another mobile home park that I've had since 1994
Okay.
that's it's on Second Street, and this particular RV park is on Third Street.
Yes, sir. When you applied for the permit to build an RV park, did you request a copy of the ordinances that go along with running an RV park?
Well, at the time when we put it in, Laura said that as long as there wasn't any other RVs within 15 feet on either side, but she said we could, butt them up pretty close to each other, but then when we come to the meetings, they said that they had to be 15 feet all the way around. But this one just sits on the south side of her fifth wheel RV.
So I think one of the things you're talking about is the actual separation in the RVs, which is the 15 feet. Crystal, you're talking about part of the ordinance that actually talks about
It actually
having
talks about permanent structures being at least 15 feet away from the RV pad itself.
Okay.
Well, this
So
could,
if you have like an extension of an RV, like the ones that have the pop-outs, they pop out usually over the pad. So a building might be within, 10 or 13 foot of that, because usually those pop-outs aren't more than 2 to 3 foot. But you would still have the 15 foot from the RV pad.
Is there room to move the RV over where it's not abutted against?
That I do not know.
well, I mean, it wouldn't serve her to move it out because it's a porch and it's got a house-type door that she goes in, then she goes into her RV.
And I understand that, but at the time that you applied for a permit to build an RV park, the ordinance was at the time that you couldn't have structures near the RV, permanent structures near the RV. So in actuality, as the owner, you're the one that allowed her to build something that was outside of the ordinance.
No, it was built and moved in.
But you're the one that allowed her to do it because you're the one providing the monthly rental space.
Well, I'm not too sure that this ordinance is in effect when we done all of this, because I thought everything had changed the first of last year.
Do what?
That's been in the ordinance for quite a while.
I was going to say, when was the ordinance changed?
That's,
It was changed February 23rd, 2015.
Because we got these other rules about our water lines has to be 5 feet from the sewer lines, and all that changed. It's, what he's talking about there.
okay, so James, does this specific part of the ordinance, was it changed at that time?
Or was there something about structures previously?
I thought there was something we have to pull that on
I
structures.
would need an old code book to look, because this section of the code has already been updated online. If this was not part of it, they'd have they have until January 1st of 2020 to comply with all the new requirements. You have a code book in your office.
You need to get that.
Let's check a couple of things, because I may have misstated something. If we change the ordinance, then there's a compliance period within that. If the ordinance pre-existed, then that's a separate.
Yeah.
So one of them is dealing with a compliance issue that we may not have to deal with today. The other one, if this was part of the pre-existing ordinance, and I misspoke, or I'm incorrect, then we have to deal with it that way.
Well, now, let me ask you another question.
Yes, sir?
I've got an 82-year-old man that we just recently built a ramp for him to get up in his RV. Is he going to have to tear that ramp down? I mean, it's 8 foot wide and like
No.
probably 10 or 12 foot long because it's got a ramp
Yeah.
going down it.
But it's not an enclosure.
Yeah, I think that it's talking about a structure as in, let's read the definition of what's actually in the code with respect to that. Typically, ADA compliance is a separate issue.
Actually, that part of the code, 5.52060, all trailer courts shall provide a lock for each house trailer with boundaries indicated by corner markers, shall be parked parallel to the adjacent trailer houses and shall be 15 feet from the side of any other trailer house or building, whether included within the trailer quarter on adjacent property.
So
That was the previous code that this code actually replaced.
And it's still
It's
written,
still-
that same subsection is still the same?
The number may have changed.
I was gonna say, the number may change with the distances.
It
The
reads any
distance-
other RV or?
All it did was 7 up.
Okay. So, Mr. Chun, as I understand it, the ordinance that predated the change in 2015 actually has the same verbiage in it with respect to not being able to have a structure within 15 feet of the RV.
So are you talking about enclosed structure, but the porches could still stay? I'm talking about the other guys. There's
Well,
one
the
or
other
two.
guy, we're not going to address. You need to address that separately with Crystal on a different item, because we can bring it up in open comments afterwards, and we can talk about it then, but as a non-action item, but that can't relate to this one.
Okay, so he says that we have till 2020 to comply with this. Does that mean that that she doesn't have to move this till 2020?
Well, as I understand it, we're going to get some feedback from legal on this one. As I understand it, the compliance, Patrick, would be for any of the changes.
I think the compliance is for the changes to that part of the ordinance. And so since if this was something that was in place prior to, because otherwise we wouldn't have any rules at all if we brought the old stuff with the new stuff. And you don't have to comply with the new stuff until 2020. We can't make you not comply with the old stuff. That was already in place. And so if that were the case, we wouldn't have any rules until 2020, which is not something that I think the commission intended to put in place. So my opinion would be if it was in place prior to the new set of rules, it's something that you have to comply with currently.
Okay.
You had to comply with it before that rule change, so you got to comply with it now.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Chun? Okay.
No.
So,
So is this something you said spoke with Laura about this before you voted out?
Do what?
Did you say you had spoken with Laura Brock before the code enforcement about this before you did it or before?
No, I just told the guy that had it moved down. I said if it looks good and everything, I didn't have a problem with it, and that's basically what was done.
so do we have, I'm reading the petition, the criteria for the variance approval. Crystal, did we complete this or did the applicant complete this?
On what?
Criteria for variance
That is
approval?
what I completed for you guys' benefit.
Okay.
Just to see what type of compliance is required for the variance.
So, Mr. Chun, do you believe that there's a health or safety risk with respect to asking for this to be removed?
Well, her kids, it's a playroom for her kids, and there's a 20-foot cleachy road behind it, and it just kind of gives her kids a place to play, when they're in the daytime or whatever. And I presume that maybe she stores a little bit of stuff in there too. I've been inside of it, but it was before she moved in.
He doesn't.
No.
He doesn't.
But I mean, the trailer can be moved. I mean, it's not attached to the trailer, it's just up against it.
Could it be brought into compliance by, is there enough room to bring it in, and bring it into compliance?
So, one of the questions that we have is could you bring this issue into compliance by having your,
The trailer moved over.
the trailer moved over to where that there is a 15-foot separation?
Well, if I moved it, the building over, it would be too close to the RV beside it. I mean, the building is 22 feet from the next RV over there now. I would have to actually move it to one of my vacant lots over there for RV. But it would be the only way that I could comply with your rule here.
Which, I know on the RV park, you do have another trailer that has the adjacent lot with a storage building on it, and then the next adjacent lot
Yeah.
is another trailer. And that's all in code, so.
Yeah, he's good as long as I don't rent that RV space, which I'm not planning on doing it. I mean, of course, right now, RVs are, they're kind of moving out more than they're moving in.
Any other questions for Mr. Chung? Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add to it?
Well, I mean, do I need to move it?
Well, we don't make any decisions on this board. We're going to make a recommendation to the city commission.
Okay, but you got the pictures and sees what it looks like and everything. I mean, it's not no junk house porch or anything like that. It's well built. It's paneled inside, the ceiling, just like a regular house, just like this building is.
And I understand that, and I think that, as we go through, and from a code enforcement, from a zoning criteria standpoint, we're looking to continue, when issues are brought up, to deal with those issues, and whatever they are, and to look at whether or not, one, there's a health or safety risk, or compliance related thing that we can sit there and justify a variance by. And so what staff has to do is take the request that's brought in, when there's an issue that's brought forth, review it, put together the documentation for what's existing, what the codes are, that if there is a violation of that code, and if in their minds, or in the owner's mind, whoever they're dealing with, if there's a health or safety reason why we should allow the variance. And those are the criteria in which as a zoning commission that we're given to try and work with. We have a code that we're trying to follow and we're trying to enforce within the city, and so the variances normally are rotated around that. And so from a health and safety standpoint, and so whatever our decision is from this commission, or from this committee's vote, is just a recommendation to the city commission.
And that meeting will be the 20th of this month?
James is okay. 23rd.
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 Okay. So we'll know something then what I have to do.
Yeah, actually, whatever the recommendation is, either way, this is going to go in front of the commission. And because the commission gets the final vote, whether it's a yay or a nay from this board's standpoint, the city commission ultimately makes that decision, and you should be there to present that as well. Are there any other comments? If there's not, close public comment and ask for a motion.
I make a motion that we deny the variance as presented by the RV owner.
And I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to follow staff recommendation to deny the variance presented by the RV owner at 1828 3rd Street. Is there any other questions? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Have one opposed. Mr. Chun, on the 23rd, and I'm sure you'll get notice from staff, is that correct, Crystal? So the
That's
commission,
actually in the letter already sent out. Today.
Okay.
It was in the letter we already received.
so Monday the 23rd at 5:15, is that correct?
Yep, that's what it says.
Will be the city commission meeting in which this will go in front of them. I would come and make my argument at that point in time and have your resident with you to make that argument with respect to any conditions that may exist that would justify the variance. Okay? Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consider recommendations for variance on required lot dimensions for mobile homes on a single lot to be removed at 500 East Adams Drive.
Our owners requested a variance, if you look at the lot, it's a pie shape. A regular 16 by 16 single wide mobile home will fit on there, either right there with the 15 foot away from this main road, with all the setbacks being required, being met, or it can set against the other fence line, 5 foot away from that fence line, and still have all the side yard, front yard requirements met. It's just that it's a pie shape, so it doesn't meet that 40 by 100 measurement.
Okay.
It's kind of like 123 and 97 and 110 and
How'd
5.
you get a pie?
So it's got some odd size areas.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on that? If you would do me a favor and state your name and
Well, my name is Juan Levis, but I'm just translating for the gentleman.
okay.
Ya su nombre si quiere.
Manuel Garfio.
¿Qué es lo que quiere decir?
Pues solicité el permiso para poder asentar una trailer. Yo no sabía de todas las reglas estas.
Okay, he said he just wants to put a mobile home there. He didn't know nothing about the rules or nothing.
Diles que yo metí la luz y cuando iba a poner el drenaje y el agua, pues me dijeron todo esto fue cuando me di cuenta. Porque sí, ya está instalado.
He said that he already put the electricity, but when he was going to put the sewage and the water, that's whenever they told him all about the roads and all that.
Yeah, he did have an RV sitting there, and as soon as I told him RVs weren't allowed on a single lot, he did move it right away. Even though he already has put in place some of the improvements for, he's trying to comply.
Sí, de hecho, dígales que compré el RV y puse la luz y iba a meter todo, pero pues fue cuando me
¿Qué es
dijeron que no.
lo que dijo ayer?
Okay.
I didn't catch a word of that.
Oh well, he was just telling me what she said. Which
Okay.
is the same thing.
Okay. All right.
So,
Anything else that you have to add? Any
Algo que
questions
preguntar?
for them?
Pues no sé, o sea, no sé qué es lo que... De hecho yo quería, por la situación, para no pagar renta ni nada, por eso compré la RV, pero el permiso para poder asentar la trailer, nada más de las dimensiones que me pide la ciudad.
okay, I guess he just wants the dimensions for the trailer he needs for the mobile home because he hasn't bought it yet, and that's why he needs the dimensions of what size the mobile home will be.
Anything below a 16 by 60 will fit within the guidelines.
Abajo de 16 por 60 es lo que puede.
18 por 63 me había dicho ella.
Oh, you said that last time you said 18 by 63. So,
Este ya me lo hizo.
okay, voy a buscar el de él.
Not because everything I measured was a 60 by 63, because he
Oh,
said he
okay.
just wanted a
On
small
this one?
mobile home.
Oh, he said that you gave him this or something. No, you
And
gave.
it says
Only
a
thing that
60
they're
by
trying to
60.
do.
Oh, okay.
Not the same picture.
I thought you said-
My copy for
Yeah.
us? Yeah.
Oh, ok, entonces sí, 16 por 60.
Yeah.
Eso más.
16.
Sí, 16 por 60.
Ok. Ya 18 por 63, ¿no?
You're not gonna get a house.
Ok.
16 por 60.
I mean, if you want something bigger, you'd have to, then it might not fit.
Oh, okay.
I don't, it would depend on exactly where it's set.
So 60 and below?
Yes.
Okay.
So the difference is in this case, it meets all the standards with all the setbacks and all the codes, with the exception that the lot's not a 4,100, it's a high shape. So if you look at that, the lot size has to be a 4,000 square foot lot, right?
And it is the appropriate
It's a
size, it's
58.
5,000 and something square feet.
So it's just, our ordinance isn't designed, whoever wrote our ordinance thought the right things. So, any questions for the landowners? From the board? If not, thank you.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. So with that, I'll take a recommendation. A motion.
I move to approve the variance for the lot dimension requirement to be removed from the property located at 500 East Adams.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Any other comments? No? No? So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Consider a recommendation for variance of 21-foot yard setback and 5-foot yard setback for lots 1 through 24 Sunrise Acres. Crystal?
Owners of Sunrise Edition, actually it was the developers that brought it to the attention that all of their floor plans, except for like 2, would fit with our setbacks. So in order for them to have a more variety of choice of floor plans, they want these setbacks. At 21 for a front yard, 5 foot for a backyard. The side yards would be the same, remaining 5 with 15 on corner lot.
Okay. Anything else from staff?
We're just not too pleased about a 5-foot backyard setback. That's just not. You wouldn't even have room for a storage tank. You could put nothing back there, nothing. It would be
This is over there at that addition where they used to build houses and ask for variances after.
They are asking for variance before it starts.
Yes, they are.
We'll go there.
David?
Today I'm with M&L Development. Actually, we talked to our developers, and the way the envelope is for the housing, like Crystal said, the housing lot is too small for very many options. If we did move the setback in the alley, that far side does not have an alleyway. It actually butts up to this young lady's property, and she's got a question on it later. But what we're looking to do is just try to get the variances. We wouldn't need that on all of the lots, but what we wanted to do is keep it consistent throughout the rest of the development. So that's what we're asking to keep. There's a few of them that have really close tolerances to where the houses would be. We just figured it'd be easier to keep it all the same for that section of the development.
Has none of this been developed yet in the blue?
No, actually, they're ready to start now. They've got a sales house up on the far north west corner. So they're ready to go. The water and sewage has been installed. We're just trying to get this figured out so that we know what type of home they can sell and what size home.
James, what was it about it changing?
That's something totally different.
Is that okay?
So what are the sizes of the lots? It's been a long time since I've seen this.
Okay.
They're 7,000, or at least 7,000 square feet.
Yeah. Some of them are very odd shaped. But
And that's part of the problem, is the dimension, the pie-shaped looking, well, I guess that'd be a really ugly looking pie, but at least the angles that are in there for us to be able to get.
If I remember, we talked about this at the time that the subdivision was, when you guys were going through design on that, on the size of the lots, and a concern with respect to whether or not they were gonna be large enough to put homes on there.
We did, but we got rid of the old developer because he didn't care what your setbacks were. He just set them wherever he wanted to. So these guys actually want to do it right, and so they're wanting to have precise boundaries that they can fit their homes on. But we did have that conversation from the start because of just the way that corner makes it. It was going to be really hard to set a house in there, but
So your bigger concern is like 6, 7, 18, and 19?
then you remember if those are the ones that are, I think it started on that first three.
Hi, I'm Dan DeTola, one of the developers.
Yes, sir.
And some people want larger, and right now we can't offer a larger house, important than the size of the backyard. So we want to be able to offer that to customers that prefer a large, and we want paying the same, and we've also see a crossing in our setback, and what they get, do a 2-story or something. We can offer more options to people if we have that capability.
so you don't feel like you need to replot to get?
No, I think there's, the way it is, we went through and sized all our houses to the lots, and we know it'll fit where. And, now the water's in, the sewer's in, and so on. So we're working with what we have. And I think we can make a good-looking subdivision and add to the community.
You don't think it'll be too crowded looking?
No, I don't think so. I think if you ride through Cedar Crossing, do you think it looks too crowded? I don't think it does, but that's my opinion, And people seem to accept it and like it and so on, and we'd like to do the same thing here.
So do we have anywhere in our ordinances that discuss zoning setbacks for patio style homes to where there's no fences or maybe a common fence, but deals with patio style homes in such a way that we have smaller setbacks?
And of course, all our lots will be walled, block walls, so every yard will be enclosed for privacy. And
It'll be a total different look from the first edition. This one, they do really good work.
Looks like these are all a depth of a little over 90 feet. This is all the depth that you have.
well, some of them are 109. I guess if I would have designed the lots, I'd have designed them differently. But we know we can work with this, and we know we can make a good-looking subdivision, and we can put houses that'll sell for a good, fair price for everybody and increase the tax revenue throughout the county and so on.
I think where it encroaches, where you're talking about is up here on the circle drive, just the way that's made in, so your distance is real tight on that far edge.
But even on those smaller lots, we can put a two-story building on there and still give people a reasonable backyard, kids, playground and so on. So we've taken all those things into consideration. We have, we'd like to be able to offer our customers, what are we now at, 12 models now? We have 12 models, different models, and out of those 12, different elevations and so on. So we can make it look, it's not gonna look like row housing. It's gonna have, they're gonna have their own identity and so on and so forth. Try to do a nice job on them.
David, do you have the plans for the subdivision?
I do not. Did we leave a full set with you?
So let me ask the question a different way. Do we have, on Birch Avenue and Cottonwood Avenue, which way does the water flow? Which way does the water flow on Birch and Cottonwood? Does it flow east or west? Does it flow towards,
I think that goes towards Seventh. The drainage.
Yes, it flows
Towards
towards, so
seven.
it flows to the west.
so we have no drainage through yards?
No,
Okay. Do we have any utilities like fire hydrants or anything coming besides on lot 20? Or does it,
We do, actually, there's a total of 3
yeah.
in that area.
Here, here,
Where are you?
and here,
In that alley.
so what's the 10-foot utility easement on lot 20 off of Birch?
That is supposed to be where fire hydrant
Okay.
That cut through.
is. From the original
Oh,
subdivision
yes,
plan.
that one's no longer needed.
The cut through on both of these with that 10-foot easement right in here
Right.
that's shown?
They used to show in here,
Yes.
but what happened is we ended up bringing fire hydrants down the alleyway. At that time, when we first started this, we didn't have alleys. We didn't butt up against each other, so we had to have an access for the fire hydrants. So that's, I don't know how we deal with that. I think the right of way is still yours, but it's gonna be yard, but the fire hydrants were looked at here and up there, and now they're here in the alleyway.
And up on top.
So I know when we first looked at the subdivision, we had the 20-foot alleys in there. The concern was at the time was, from the fire department was access to fire hydrants within the cul-de-sacs. And so now we're taking those fire hydrants out of the cul-de-sacs
Right, and this is,
and they're on the alleys? Has the fire department reviewed that? Are you good with that?
If it's on the main street,
So that puts you 90, so 150, 200. It puts you over 300 feet from a fire hydrant if you're fighting the front side of a lot fire.
You're at 1,200 feet, something like that.
I'm good as long as the city's good. The fire department's good with that. I'm just asking the questions.
well, our trucks have enough line though to reach the furthest lot, so.
In the cul-de-sac.
Either running from there or.
So David, would it be your intent to vacate that easement?
yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions for David or the developer? No, it doesn't give them more property, it just allows them to build within the setbacks that they're asking for.
Which easement, you're talking about the 10-foot easement that they're not using?
Where they were gonna put a hydrant, we're no
Yeah.
longer doing that, so we'd vacate that.
So,
We're
yeah,
gonna vacate this.
Would we, yeah, would we have?
This-
otherwise they wouldn't be able to build across the top of it.
Huh?
We're
Yeah, I
not
know, but
vacating
that's
this,
what we
she's
would have
asking.
to
Yeah.
do.
We're not vacating that.
No, he said they were.
No.
Well, it would be that,
Sorry.
like that, I mean, that would have to be a separate request
Right,
to vacate.
right, but that would have to
Yeah,
come
that's a
through.
different,
Otherwise, you still wouldn't be able to build over it.
right.
So, okay.
Well, my only question is, it appears to me, or maybe statement question, that this is something that, this is a new, a type of neighborhood that we haven't dealt with here in Lovington at this point for no backyards.
Yeah, we've never had nothing with no backyards.
So, I would
So that's the.
guess that there are standards for this type of neighborhood or whatever in other places where they do have this. Is this does this even fit in what we've got? I mean, obviously it doesn't if there's 5 foot, but, so should we, maybe consider, for future, this type of neighborhood allowing 5 foot, just, or, not that we're not, but I'm just saying. I don't know what I'm saying. This is something that we haven't dealt with, so.
Right.
Well,
Should we be dealing with it with variance, or should we be dealing with it through a different avenue?
That's what I'm thinking. Should we
See-
deal with it with a different route instead of a variance, because.
It's a whole different porch.
See, our experience is the customer backyard they want. If they come to us and say, look, a big backyard's important to us, then there's certain designs that we have, let my dog out, but I want more house, then we can satisfy the need. And our goal is to satisfy the consumer's need,
Right.
and within the confines of the city's requirements.
So even if you allow the 5 foot, many will not have that, but at least they have the option to go up to that 5 foot backyard.
Well, the way I look at it is, if we allow the 5 foot, every one of them could use it up, and every one of them could not use it up.
Correct.
One
Yeah.
way or the other.
Right.
They're not a mix.
Right.
Either they all have only 5 feet or.
Oh, no, the way they're presenting it is, here's a piece of property, this is how much the property is. Oh, that's the piece of property I want, okay. Here's the house options, pick out which one you want. And this guy can pick out this one, or this one can pick out that one. And David, I assume your argument for doing this to begin with is because the water meters and taps are already in?
They are, well, not the meters. We've got the lines laid and the valves in. But there again, it all came down to being able to give options to the customers. And because what we're looking at, and if you remember right, when we had Mike Almager, he just built a house.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't look at the boundaries, he didn't look, he said, I want to build this house. Didn't care if it was on the neighbor's yard or in the street. He just built it. Well, we've asked these guys to go in and look and determine what the best options are for that piece of property. And in their due diligence, they said, it restricts some of the options for the customer. So we thought it'd be worthwhile coming back in and keeping it all the same. So that way we're not, one address having 5 foot setback, the other one having 15. Yeah,
That's
so everything's the same.
Yeah.
So that way it's easier for them to sell, okay, these are your options, you fit it on the lot as you need it, and then we go forward.
You hit the nail on the head. Here's the building envelope. Do you want a large backyard? Then here's the models that'll fit on there to give you a,
What you want.
30-foot backyard, or, you know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fulfill the needs of the customer.
Right.
And one thing I can stand here and guarantee you, if you give us the variance, we will be within those things. We do not build outside the variances.
And I think they're just doing it this way to set a basic, so they don't have to come back for each individual lot once they decide what one
That's
they're
right.
putting there.
That's right.
And say, well, we need a variance for this one, but we didn't need one for that one. Just to avoid a lot of time-consuming paperwork.
And one of the things we try to offer our customer is a relatively fast move-in. From the time they pick their house and from the time we pull the building permit, 90 days we can have them in their house. Now, if we have to come back for easements on every lot, then that goes out now 6 months,
So, David, I'm gonna ask a question a different way. Are the vertical utilities going into the alleys, not the trunks? Are the vertical utilities, in other words, the one that feeds each individual lot, sewer and water in right now?
They are.
They're just not tapped.
Yeah, the lines
Correct.
are already back there in all the alleys, where it's not.
So they just have to be dug up and a tap put on for water meter or tap put on into the sewer?
Yes.
Correct.
So, because otherwise I'd be sitting here saying, hey guys, redesign your lots.
They've already got all that configured.
Yes.
The curb and gutters in, the asphalt's in, so now I'm really limited on movement.
Are you done, man?
Pardon? dynamite? Do I have to get a permit for that?
So, any other questions for M&L or the
This is
developer?
Leon Ivy, my partner. He could, if you got any
Leon.
questions, he might be able to field some too.
No. Leon Ivy. The only thing I would add would be that even though we're asking for a 5-foot setback, realistically, we're going to average probably 8 to 15 foot from the rear. And the fact these have alleys makes it a little different than what we're used to. We generally have a common fence behind the lots. In fact, this does have
So
an
there'll
alley.
be more privacy in the backyard.
Gives you a little more privacy, and the homes are run from 1,400 to 2,800 square foot. And we have one plan that's almost 2,600 square foot on one level. On one of the deeper lots, I think these are 125 foot up here. So on putting that home on that lot, we're probably looking at about a 25 to 27 foot setback on that house. But without the variance, then we've got to go back and redesign a complete line of homes. And our plans are to use the same models that we have in Hobbs ABS homes. So we've already got the model complex, and then we're ready to start 4 homes. So time is sort of the essence for us. And this was already designed, and when we were approached with it, and to replat it really wouldn't serve any purpose with all the utilities and the streets paved, so.
Okay.
And would you make the owners aware that if they only had anywhere under 15 foot, they wouldn't be able to have a storage building in the backyard? Because our ordinance, they have to be 10 foot away from the main structure.
We will put that in our covenants so that that's presented to every buyer.
Right. Taking it as a subdivision. So, any other comments, David?
I have a young lady here that's got a question. Doesn't actually pertain to this, but she's brought it up because the letter was sent out. And basically what it is, up on the north side, she has a property north of us. So that back fence will show towards her house. And what she's questioning or commenting on is the telephone poles are on the other side of the alley in her property, the electric poles. And the electric company had told her that at some point in time, after we get this done, there's a possibility they can move the poles to our side of the alley, which we don't have any problem with that, or buy property from her. But that was her concern in coming tonight. Es todo más o menos?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is, sorry, my English is not very extensive, so
It's
Yeah.
currently in her property, in her
It is.
backyard?
Well, it's actually her front
in the
yard.
front and the back too.
Yeah, she's got a really nice home there on Dogwood, and it's faced sort of catty corner, so she's got the lines going in between us and her house. But they've been there a while. Lee County Electric's got them. Well, Lee County Electric knows about it. Actually, we'd asked a question at one time about going underground, and that costs too much also. But the discussion's been made on where the poles are and where they need to be, but we don't have any control over that. But she was wanting to bring that concern to y'all.
I would assume they have an easement through
Ellos tienen derecho a estar en propiedad tuya?
No.
She doesn't think they do.
Dice, y bueno, cuando hablé con Quiroz,
Ah, really?
él me dijo que probablemente en aquellos tiempos hicieron más la línea, o sea, se basaron en lo que venía así y tomaron los postes, hicieron ahí. Pero luego que se pusieron los puntos, quedaron dentro de mi propiedad, tanto del frente como de atrás. De hecho, el alley de atrás tuvieron que sí moverse para atrás, un poquito para poder poner mi barda ahí.
Pasar. She said they talked to Rudy Quiroz, and he thinks that way back when, if they just went a straight line, but that they encroached on her property, and that's probably why they're willing to buy an easement. But it's both in her front and in her alley, and he'd made a comment that the city would actually have to move the alley a little bit in the back for her to even pass, so. But there again, I don't know, it muddies water on this, but it's something that we're gonna have to deal with as we go forward, because we're gonna need electric, and I'll probably have to get with Rudy to see what an outcome would be.
Why would they have to move the alley?
¿Por qué mueve el callejón atrás?
El callejón que estaba atrás estaba pasando por el medio de mi patio.
Oh, the back alley actually passes in the middle of her patio, just the way it's set.
Your
So,
house
no
is
está-
built in the middle where there's supposed to be a street.
Yo-
Remember that one? No, you wasn't there.
Okay. So we're gonna have to deal with this at some point.
Well, and I can call Rudy and try to get some conversation started.
Yeah.
To see what we have to do.
What
It
we're
is.
doing today, but-
Right, it is, but since she surfaced it because of the letter, I'd be willing to try to work on that, just so we can keep things going and keep her happy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yo hablo con Rudy mañana, a ver si puedo ayudar.
Thank you.
David, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Anybody else have anything they want to add on
Quick
this?
question, the gentleman was just telling me if he's gonna get like a letter or something that states that his variance was accepted.
It still has to go to city commission, and then on that letter, it says that it'll be in city commission on May 23rd, and once they approve it, then he'll be okay to put the on.
Does she have to come tell me too?
Yes.
Yes. So we are just an advisory board,
Oh,
okay? And I don't want to just minimize that, but what I'm saying is the city commission, the elected officials make the final decision.
all right, makes sense. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Patrick,
Yes.
James, either one of y'all want to comment on this?
I mean, it kind of seems like, at least for me, the decision about whether to have a 5-foot backyard or not would be up to the customer. You know, if they wanted to have it, they could have it. If they were opposed to that, then they could either build some other kind of structure that has less square footage or go to a second story. And so I don't know if that necessarily is a decision as far as what anybody here would prefer or not prefer as far as a backyard. But, you know, we still have to look at it as far as, number one, why do we have that setback? And is there some reason that the fire department could look at, you know, some actual thing we can point to that is objective as opposed to subjective? You know, I could look at it and say, I wouldn't want a 5-foot backyard because of this. Or somebody else might look at it and say, hey, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But I think what the board needs to take a look at is, what's the reason we have that setback? And is there going to be some purpose for that setback that is not going to happen because of the request? And so if it's just based on what people at that time thought was acceptable for a backyard, then I think it's going to be up to the customer, and I would say, you know, grant the request for that variance. If there's something specific as far as a health and safety issue you could point to, well, that's a little bit different. That's not something we let people choose on health and safety. I think it's pretty much based on what the council that approved those setback requirements at that time probably looked at was acceptable as far as either aesthetics or what was in demand or customary at that time. And so, you know, if houses in the Hobbs area have sold with these types of backyards, they have people wanting that, I can see where, you know, my mom moved into a house, she may not want the backyard that I have because you have to mow it and cut it and do all this work. That may be perfectly acceptable to her. And so it at least gives them the options. And I think that what we would see is not every single backyard at 5 foot. There may be some thrown in there, but, you know, it would be up to that customer as opposed to, you know, somebody here making a decision about should you have a small backyard or not. That's not how I
Do you have gas lines, or are these all electric houses?
There's not any, yes.
There's no gas.
Yeah, I was thinking they're
That
all
would be a
electric.
concern for me. If
I
I
thought
have
they
gas
were all
lines
electric
back home.
homes.
James?
Most of your newer homes are all electric.
I actually agree with Patrick. I believe whenever they set these setbacks, it was just an aesthetically pleasing view. Of course, it was a different time back then. I couldn't tell you what year it was actually adopted, early 70s maybe. But I think by granting a variance like this, I don't have any problems with it. I would love a big backyard, but that's a choice that I would make when planning my home, especially given the fact that this has not been built out yet. So we're not really worried about, putting different shaped houses in something that should look uniform. This is actually giving some right to the landowner to actually develop what they want.
And of the phone calls, I did receive a few for the letters I sent out. And, other people are like, well, it's not going to change my backyard. I'm like, no, yours is already where it is. And so, they're like, well, if that's what they want. That's whoever's buying the house, that's their choice.
Patrick, is there another way that we can handle this that doesn't deal with the variance?
Well, I guess there's two parts to that question. Number one is probably no, because that's what was advertised. That's what we're looking at. So if we advertise there's a variance request, our choices today are you get a thumbs up or thumbs down. And so from that perspective, I don't think we could come up with a, choice C or D here that gets approved. I don't know if there's something else that would be acceptable as far as that variance that would allow, a different size house to be built other than go back and replat that subdivision. But considering utilities and pavement, street, and probably curbing, I don't know if that would be something that would be, to anybody's advantage.
Right.
And so I think the simplest thing, given the fact that we've already have some infrastructure in, is to take a look at that issue. And where it shakes out for me is if there's not a health and safety issue that requires a certain size backyard, I would look at it and say it's probably an aesthetic issue that was put in place at that time. That was something that was probably acceptable. In the 70s, that's what everybody was doing. Our hair is different. The bottom of my pants are a little bit different too. So,
The color of it.
Huh?
The color.
Yeah, exactly. How fat my tie is, all those other things. And so, things change. If I want to wear bell bottoms, it's up to me, I can wear them. If I want a 5-foot backyard and not have to mow it, maybe that's something that, as times change, somebody should be able to do. But I think the choice we have before us is either a thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, there may be some other alternatives out there, but I think it's going to require a lot of effort and time and maybe moving some of that infrastructure. So I think that's kind of where we are.
So I want to share my thoughts with the rest of the board. So if you choose to make a recommendation one way or another, my biggest concern about applying a variance is that somebody next door on the next lot up or the next lot back is going to say, well, wait a minute, you have a variance right here, why can't I do the same thing? And so I would like to make this specific to
It is only for those 24 lots, isn't it? Yes,
Okay.
the 1 through 24 lots.
I would like to make this specific in such a way that this is a non-built-out subdivision, that everything's going to be consistent, and full disclosure is made to everybody that's building in that area already.
Which that's, I asked him if they'd make sure that, and they said that they put that in their,
My goal here is that if we approve a variance today, is that it's written in such a way that we have some way to come back when somebody says that we've approved a variance. Yeah, but this variance was approved for a non-built-out subdivision, and all the lots are consistent.
And I think you could certainly put that in your motion, even if that does not get into the language of the motion. I think the record would reflect that, that's the case.
Okay.
And so even if we did it on one lot, if they said, out of all of our customers, we have one lot that wants this, let's go ahead and do it, it's not built out, we still have that opportunity anytime anyone else comes into the city and requests that change. And so if someone else came in on another street, let's say to the west of this, where house is already built, and they wanted to change that to that 5-foot setback, you could take that into consideration, that housing, those units there have already been developed. They were developed under certain criteria as far as the setback, and that one house in that development that's already existing is going to have a significant impact on the rest of the homes.
Right, that's where I'm
As
going.
opposed to this that hasn't been developed yet. You
Right.
don't have that choice.
And that's my concern.
Right, and so you could put that in the motion if you choose. If you don't, I think it's still an opportunity to consider each variance request as it comes in under new facts and circumstances. So I don't think it's a situation where if we approve it, we've always got a cookie cutter to approve it in the future. If the circumstances are different, you can take those into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
One thing that kind of concerns me about this, and it's not even major, but should some of these houses end up with smaller backyards than is necessary for, say, a storage unit? You know, these people buy a house, get a smaller backyard, want to put a storage unit back there, then we come back for a variance for, well, you know, my yard's not big enough, I need a storage building, can I get a variance? And that would be, to me, I would hope that maybe decided or written or told or put into maybe the covenants or whatever, if there are any.
That's what they, I actually asked them that. I guess you and Randy were in a discussion and didn't hear it. I asked them if they would put that in their covenants, that if they had not enough space to give that 10-foot barrier between a storage building and the main home, that they tell their client that they cannot put one in. And
so
they
that-
said they'd put that in their
Yeah,
covenants.
now that is something that you could add to the motion, and I would recommend if that's something that you so choose. I'm not saying it needs to go into the motion or not, but if the person that makes that motion wants to say, for example, that the builder or that the applicant that made this request would notify persons that choose a form of a house that's going to give them a 5-foot backyard, that they're advised to seek out and understand what the setbacks would be for a storage unit, if that would be taken into consideration when somebody comes in. That I think you can add because it is specific and unique to this situation. And so I think it'd be fair game to put that in and say we can approve this with the understanding that, or with,
With the understanding that it creates new
that the applicant is going to make those customers aware of what's going to happen with a 5-foot backyard if they have a storage unit issue.
Any accessory building.
Yeah, any accessory
Would
building.
have to be 10-foot.
And then that puts them on notice, and so that helps you make a decision. If that customer with a 5-foot backyard comes back in and says, hey, well, I want a storage unit, or, a big deck, something like that, you can say, hey, well, this is what should have happened with the ordinance.
And,
Yes.
and the covenants will be recorded with that information in the county. So there's no misunderstanding about it. They say, well, I didn't know it wasn't in the covenant. It will be in the covenants, and it will be recorded.
I know that would be like just my concern, after the fact, and they come up with
That was one of my main concerns.
with these things.
Yeah, I deal with that from the front and from the back. I assume all your houses have garages,
Yes.
so we're not gonna be dealing with future carports anyway.
No, 2 stall garages.
So, the same thing on the front setbacks or the back setbacks, we have the same issues on the front. People wanting to add on to garages, people wanting to do that. Those same setbacks issues are gonna exist for anybody that thinks that they're gonna add a carport in 10 years, or 2. So, all right, with that, I think we'll close public comments and stand for a motion.
I don't know how to word it. I make a motion that we approve the variance with the additional understanding that
Applicant will make buyer aware of setbacks for outer structures.
Applicant will make buyer aware of setbacks for, what does it say?
Outer structures.
Outer structures.
Accessory buildings.
Accessory buildings.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Any other comment?
I have something.
Floor is yours.
At the April 11th meeting, we had a citizen during public comment stress that we needed to take care of the situation of individuals living in RVs, in single-family dwellings, and multi-family dwellings outside of an RV park. So I met with the individual yesterday to go over a couple of things where our code doesn't address that issue, the enforcement problems that we have. We also had Laura research how different communities handle this. This is just discussion. I would like to bring this back to the board for a recommendation at the June meeting on how to address the issue of individuals living in RVs outside of the mobile home parks.
Does this apply to the ETZ?
No.
Just here.
Hmm?
Just here.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? Does this need to go, will this be a hearing or just or discussed at the June meeting?
Oh, it would come back for action to approve or a recommendation to proceed with an ordinance change. At that point, then we would present the recommendation to the city commission for approval to start advertising and also the public hearing process.
Okay.
Since this is zoning, it will take advertisement and mailing letters to each owner in the affected zones, which is
All of them?
all 4 zones. So we would definitely, we would follow that process. So we would want a recommendation from this board to proceed and let the commission decide if they want to take on that task for changing zoning code.
So I have a question, since we're going through a notification to every zone, is there any other ordinances that are on the board that would save the city from doing this $12,000 event twice?
Well, it's not 12,000.
3,000.
Okay, 3,000.
None that are ready at this time.
Okay. Okay.
I was just wondering, is this, what's different here from what's currently?
This doesn't exist.
Yeah.
None of this exists.
None of this exists. This is this would actually add a new chapter to zoning. Right now, the RV mobile home park ordinance only deals with the regulation of RVs and mobile homes within those mobile home parks. This does not prohibit specifically. There are areas in the code, depending upon the interpretation, that do prohibit that. But it is an issue with citing an individual for violating that section and then sending it to municipal court. And really, it's the judge's interpretation at that point. This actually makes it less muddy when trying to interpret the code.
Okay.
I have a question. You know, I parked my RV at my house. It does have blocks under it. So that it don't go.
Leveling blocks, not real chalks, leveling blocks.
Well, some people think to keep the tires from driving.
Well, this is just a rough draft on, so, I mean, there's a couple of areas that do warrant some
I
discussion.
want to make sure there's not like sewer hooked up
I
water
can see
hoses
that.
hooked up, isn't
Like
that?
I said, I have it stored at my house, but it's still on blocks, because I don't want the tires to be messed up, and I don't want it to blow over.
You mean you just can't drain it right out in your yard?
No, that's not.
Not unless you live over there.
Not unless you're one of the food trucks.
Right over here.
No.
Okay. All right, hey, any other questions for James on this?
So we just need to study this and come back with,
So we can have comments, make some changes.
okay?
It'd be really cool if you studied it and made comments to staff beforehand so it could be distributed in the packet.
Okay. If we don't like it, we'll just have a person.
Okay, any other comments? Don, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Well, there's also, we adjourn this meeting.
Have a motion, second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.